we're getting close to, and I don't know if people realize this, but based on the franchise tags that he got in Washington, you were there for that, LaVar, you remember that,
yep.
And the contracts he's gotten in Minnesota, we're approaching almost a decade straight of guaranteed contracts for Kirk Cousins. Like, he has done a hell of a job from a business standpoint. And we talked about, look, the Mount Rushmore of NFL business, and it was Kirk Cousins and Ndamukong Suh, Massage Watson, and then you had Darrelle Revis, like all these guys. But Kirk Cousins, I wonder if Kevin O'Connell's comments are him kind of, letting the front office know, like, hey, guys, so just so you know, like, this is, they might take us wanting to go down that road again to try and bring him back. And I'd like to have him back because, in the clip, in talking to NFL Network, he points out his record as a head coach with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. Kirk Cousins working with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson. And like, he's pointing out all of these things. And it's almost like I took it as him, maybe letting the front office know, like, hey, like, you realize that the threat is real here. Like, we could lose this guy if we're not ready to step up to the table and potentially give him what he wants. And if that means another guaranteed contract for Kirk Cousins, so be it. But damn, he has played his cards right.
You could call it masterful. I don't think there's any military secret connected to the tactic that's taking place here. Clearly, if you can create a market for yourself, and you can establish within the court of public opinion that your value is of the value that he has established, then now the Minnesota Vikings are forced to make a decision. And with that being said, so is the suitor, or suitors plural, that are being insinuated to be interested out there on the open market. He's already created a market as a free agent going into free agency, and we all know if you're able to do that going into free agency ahead of it, you've now set the table, right? Like, think about this. I would liken it to when you talk about what's on the table. Kirk Cousins already has, at Thanksgiving dinner, he already has the best piece of turkey. He's got a super large helping of mac and cheese and mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce and all the extra fixings that go along with your plate. But you're looking at the rest of the table and you're like, wait, hold on. Why the hell isn't the turkey here? Why aren't the sides here? Where is all of the food? He's already set the table and brought his plate full of food to the table before they even brought it out. Everybody said, Grace, da-da-da. Hey, you're going to is the granddad cutting the turkey? Is the uncle, the husband who's cutting the turkey? We don't know who's cutting the turkey. But why does Kirk Cousins already have his plate at the table standing here saying, Grace? Like, oh, you're a super humble dude, God-fearing guy, loves his family, loves the community that he serves, but yet still,
you know what else he loves?
There you go, right? It's always easy to be that humble guy.
Damn right.
And not one time have we heard Kirk Cousins come out and say, I need that cash, homie. Straight cash.
He's a damn $1 million man.
He ain't did it.
He's the new Ted DiBiase, Kirk Cousins.
Straight cash, homie.
You ain't got to sit there at the table and be like, hey, look, I get the largest plate. You don't have to be a flexer when you already have what it is that you want right in front of you. And that's how it's been set. The table has been set for Kirk Cousins to win again. Now, this is where the one caveat is, do the teams say, we want you, but this is what the market says you're worth? And could something like this backfire on Kirk Cousins? Because if you think about it, Lamar Jackson, in a much larger way, had a very relatable situation, even though he had the tag on him. It was still a much more relatable situation because they gave him a franchise tag that would allow for another team to match with what the Baltimore Ravens wanted to do with him. And no one did it. No one jumped at it. In fact, it was more about diminishing and talking bad about what Lamar Jackson brings to the table versus there being reports saying how good Lamar Jackson is, how much other teams want him.
Because it was, he doesn't have an agent. This is a bad look. He's getting exposed right now. It's like, well, not really.
And and that says a lot about when your representation is out there and has the relationships with these insiders and are able to have them have those conversations with the media and those reports being out there. Kirk Cousins' team, whether knowingly or not, I don't know if it's because he's a media sweetheart, I don't know, but the narratives that are generally created by Kirk Cousins, especially as it's applied to him getting extensions or getting contracts, has always been favorable and has always been commendable, and almost so where it's like you're pulling for him versus condemning him. You know, why would you do this to the Vikings? You're being selfish. You're being greedy. Kirk Cousins has made it into a, you know what? You got to pay this guy. What a great guy. They made Lamar Jackson a goddamn villain out here, and I'm not calling it, Duke Blue Devils and UNLV. I'm not going down that road.
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins just got a grill, so he's exonerated on all charges.
And he was on the plane with all of the gold on and was dancing.
Exonerated on all charges.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? He's one of them relatable dudes where he's like, man, I'm as white as a white boy, but I can relate to all of the white brothers people. As well. There you go. I ain't buying that. But he sure do be wearing all of that 100,000, 200,000 worth of jewelry.
He can afford it, man. I think it's – listen, I just want people to know on our fine affiliate in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, the Yellowhorn of the Twin Cities, I just want you to know Kirk Cousins guy here. I support him through and through, and I have made all the jokes in the world over the past several years about him not performing in primetime spots because he's got potential OCD. Like all that stuff, his routine – all that is gone. I've completely come around on Kirk Cousins, done a 180. He's the new $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, and he's going to get paid.
I know we're up against the break, but I think one other point that should be added to this is to have a coach come out and speak in a way where he's insinuating that tampering took place. He doesn't want the value of Kirk Cousins going any further than where it is right now. Which means they want Kirk Cousins. They just don't want to have to pay as much as it may appear that they're going to have to pay to be able to keep him there. That has turned into more value for him as it applies to the Atlanta Falcons or anyone else out there that may want to join the sweepstakes. I still say there's a team that's out there that's looking at Kirk Cousins and hoping that Kirk Cousins does hit the open market, and they're going to slide in there, and they're going to be the team that offers more than what the team we're expecting to do is going to offer. And so for Kirk Cousins, they're not trying to diminish him. They're not saying the narrative isn't negative on him. The narrative is, why are people tampering with what we got going on? Allow for us to do the process, and if he makes it to free agency, then you start having these conversations. But you guys have gone off and shot the gun early on how you guys view Kirk Cousins and what you're trying to do. You're using the media to be able to leverage and manipulate the storyline and the narrative surrounding it. It's just kind of, on one side of it, it's kind of messy, but it's messy in favor of the player, which in a lot of cases, you and I both know, Jonas, it doesn't play out that way.
Do you think Kirk Cousins is like Verbal Kent, where he is like walking? He's walking to the car and he's got the limp, and then the Vikings front office, after they get the deal done,
it's a great example.
He walks out, he can barely hold a cigarette. Next thing you know, his walk straightens out. He gets into the car, his agent's sitting next to him. He lights up a lung dart and drives off with another guaranteed contract.
And you didn't even realize the agent was Kumbayashi. You know what I mean?
The best.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you thought he was Verbal Kent, y'all. That man was Kaiser Sose right in front of you. You had the devil right in front of your face, and you ain't even know it.